bit about myself for those of you who are unfamiliar. As I said, my name is Arthur Greenleaf Holmes. I was born in the small English seaside town of Stoke-on-Trent by Dursey upon Avon by the sea. Sometime between the years 1547 and 1552, a period later to be known as the gay 1547s through 1552s. My father was a wet nurse, and my mother died shortly after pleasuring a butter churn. Successfully, as it turns out. I am also the only poet of the entire English language to have rhymed the word egg with the word fellatio. I had a single younger brother, Edmund, who suffered both bouts of paralysis and epilepsy, and so was unable to convince anyone that he had either. I had to wait even longer in Texas for that one. Most of my earliest poetry, or what the scholars call the juvenilia, took the form of flower odes and lamentations upon what was to prove to be an extremely late arriving puberty. In fact, my testicles failed to descend until I was 32 years old. Here then is one of the first poems that I ever wrote, and I would like to give it to you. I'm wondering, you've seen the show many times. How many of you have seen the show? Usually, oh, not many of you. Well, then I shall do the normal thing. Here we go. This poem is called Mother, Will My Stones Drop? And I should like to recite this poem in the original prepubescent voice, which strikes me as being thematically consistent with where some of us are in life right now. Here we go. Applaud that man. Applaud. Mother, will my stones drop ere I turn 29? I tire of this empty sack against my hairless thigh. And when will I awaken to find my mattress wet? It's happened to the other boys, but I've not known it yet. And will my wanker bolden and shed its pinkish skin? And will it grow a hairy nest to spend its evenings in? I never thought that this poem would attract so many perverts. And mother, what's a clitoris? And by the way, that is spelled C-L-I-T-O-R-I-S. Yeah, I'm always helpful to look up words you're not familiar with. I was talking to him. And mother, what? And then Jesus said to the 12 disciples, the children of life of redemption, and not tarry in the valley of Philippi. Because that's what Jesus said in the Bible, I think. Page 4 of the Bible. I'm not very familiar with the publication. It was a sad day when I'm the protector of children. And mother, what's a clitoris? And is it hard to find? My cousin said she'd show me hers if I would show her mine. Thank you. Listen, one of the things I struggle with is the tension between giving you the show that I know that you would like and presenting new material. This is why I asked how many of you have seen the show before. I have a new poem, and I would like to give it to you right now, if that's all right. It's untested, which means it may quite fail, but it's another juvenilia poem, which is another one that shall be delivered in the prepubescent voice. And this will be the last of the prepubescent poems. But I would like to try it on you right now. This poem is called When One Is Not But 10 and 4. I wish to give my truest love some token dear of heart, but tokens bear the curse of man, and soon this world depart. A pink carnation plucked I there, and pinned it to her gown, but time that mocking villain turned its earnest blush to brown. I drew her name upon the strand beside the ocean's spray, but the sea uncurled its lawless lips and lapped her name away. Some verse I'll spill upon the page that time may ne'er unwrit. But father tore my pages out and wiped his ass with it. What gift may I that ever lasts, said she, thou suffering sod. There's naught but time may undermine, so turn thy thoughts to God. I gave myself a friction sore, bold reciprocity. If blackest night shall unrequite, I'll gift myself to me. A friction sore, this hand my bold conquistador. As I be not but 10 and 4, a friction sore for me. Thank you very much. Well, by now we all probably have a pretty crystalline vision of how the show is going to deteriorate over time and the downward trajectory we can all expect. But I would like to remind you all of that disclaimer that I issued at the top of the show, because you might have been thinking that I was trying to caution you against the use of the bad word. But what these poems have just shown you is that in poetry, the bad word is much more benign than the perfectly good words that are employed in the conspiracy of horrific achievement. And so would you like me to stop looking at you when I'm doing it? So, hello. Ode to an over-application of denim. That should be the next poem. Yes. Madam, I see the flowers in your hair, and I find it a charming homage to both fertility and virginity at the same time. But every time I see a woman with flowers in her hair, I feel that I'm expected to push her down a volcano. Tropical pagan religions. Well, of course, we don't have any volcanoes in this town. And then again, the virgins aren't falling from the trees either. About a week ago, I pushed a hooker down a manhole, but I don't think it translated. I bring this up because I got a poem that is delivered with a woman as the speaker, and it begins with the image of a flower. Would you like to hear it? Sure. This poem is called Clap for My Love. An ode to chlamydia. Oh, give me not roses, nor flowery bouquets. For what is a rose but a long-stemmed cliché? Nor diamonds, nor emeralds my breath to adorn, that blackened a coal when thy love is forsworn. Oh, you boys, do you fancy my virtue so hollow, that the ruff of thy peacock might summon a swallow? Yet stay thy dismay, for still might I yield, and I'll open my bloom to the pistol you wield. And I'll take you to bed, for to taste of my bead, and you'll think it so clever, and I so deceived. When I wake to thy missive dismissively lit, but mine is a gift you'll not easily quit. And mine is a blossom that blooms with goodbye, scorned to a thorn that rankles your thigh. In the tears of each maiden you wantonly kissed, shall burn like a thistle each time that you piss. No more will you dabble in tawdry romance when your balls burn like nettles of fire in your pants. A dishonorable discharge shall keep thee at home. Thy poor scroto baggins must go it alone. Alone. O chlamydia, blessed be thy name. How else might a man know a concubine's shame? Are we all right? Yeah. Now, I have to ask you, madam, I see you with the horns on your head, and you seem to be some sort of a mythical forest-like creature. Now, what sort of a being are you?
I don't know yet. I need another cup of wine.
I believe I can actually. Oh, then you're an inebriate as well. You're an inbred inebriate. Oh, you've got a tail as well.
I know, yeah.
Well, I just want to. Yes, I have to say, this relationship is not going to work out. You're a mythical forest-like creature. He's a Methodist. And you, madam, with the green hair, you have inspired me to write a poem in your honor someday. It shall be entitled Ode to the Unfortunate Side Effects of Oral Sex with My Little Pony. Yes, Ode to a Scotsman sitting with his legs open. Subtitled Ode to a Funny Little Nativity Scene. And you all in black, ode to a man who looks like he just mugged Johnny Cash. Yes. Oh, ode to the unfortunate choice of white tube socks with shorts. Very controversial indeed. Are you two together? reminded of a time when I was in Paris. And I was in a cafe and a woman approached me and she had recognized me from my show. And she asked if I would autograph her bill of fare, her menu. And I said that I would, but this made her husband rather jealous. He said to me, well, when you're done autographing that, maybe you could autograph my dick. And I replied by saying, I don't think I can autograph it, but I might be able to initial it. The man was a sea captain, so I wrote this poem for him after he left. He's never heard it, but I give it to his wife. This poem is called The Sea Captain's Wife, and again, the speaker is a woman. Well, my husband is a captain, a commander of men. He sailed the great seas twice around, to the Straits of Magellan and the Isle of St. Helen. But there's one spot my husband's yet found. Oh, contemptible guile, oh, thou wee little isle all afloat in the rose-petal sea. Come, ye waves, lap her shore, and she'll quaver the more. But my husband, he drifts to the lee. Would to God that he found it, but he sails all around it. Those oft times I lent him a hand. His proud doth approach, I'm a cape of great hope, but all hope sinks like foam in the sand. Shall I chart him a course? Shall I argue that force only hastens the timid to hide? How I envy the shells when the tidal pool swells, for their liquors delighted inside. He's a boy from this land, and he's hardly a man. Oh, a unicorn. We were talking about the unicorn earlier with this man, and he said something that I found very funny. He said, you've seen one unicorn, you've seen them all. Get it? There's a boy from this land, and he's hardly a man, and yet hardly's the thing that I crave. When he lies by my side, he invoketh my tides, every wave upon wave upon wave. So good husband, off hold, bring me nutmeg and cloves, and I'll pace by the base of Tralee. But I'm an isle to no man, save the one whose command is the better commander than thee. Thank you. If I look at the audience, I see all kinds of dressing. I see a Scotsman here. I see you in a lovely corset. I see a woman with the horns. Is there a theme to this weekend?
Heroes.
Heroes of the realm. That's the theme. I'm always confused by the themes here because I would think that Renaissance would be theme enough. I'm wrong about that. Last year we had a pirate weekend and I didn't know that till later in the day. I thought it was Fleetwood Mac, not age. I saw a woman with Viking horns on and she taught me so much. She taught me how to plunder and how to pillage and how to miss a field goal from 27 yards out. Too soon? Well, now I saw someone eating something. Who was eating? You were eating something that... What is this? It's a sandwich of some sort, a meat sandwich. Earlier today I watched a very old man eating a turkey leg and it was fascinating because I couldn't tell which one was going to win. But this reminds me of a food poem that I would like to share with you. Because a while ago... You're sitting on the vibrating bench. A while ago, is it the bench or are you wearing a push-up thong? A while ago, it was my don't wish. That is not what I wish. I have wishes in my life. That is not one of them. How are you folks doing? You all right over there? Good. I think the church is in disguise. A while ago, it was my supreme misfortune to be invited to the Duchess of Kensington's for dinner, and as offensive as the meal itself was, the dessert was infinitely worse. In fact, it was really less of a dessert and more of a human rights violation on a platter. But I was able to force it down, and on the third day, when my fever broke and I stopped the bleeding, I wrote this poem. This poem is called The Tewkesbury Pudding. Well, the Tewkesbury pudding's a wretched dessert. Just the slightest of bites and your prostate will hurt. Your liver will swell and your colon will squirt and you'll blow a brown stain on the back of your shirt. Ooh, the Tewkesbury pudding's a terrible treat. They say it's a bread, but you'll swear it's a meat. And it's hardly a thing for a Christian to eat. It'll blow out old Lefty and wrinkle your teeth. It chews like placenta. E-S-O-A. Is that too much? Did I go too far? Too much? No? Good. I'll say it again. It chews like placenta. Sebaceous and black. If you see one outside, tie it up in a sack. You can give it away, but it always crawls back. For it tastes like the drip from a camel toe's crack. Signs of life. Oh, the toothberry pudding is worse than you think. It enlarges the heart, but your penis will shrink. I have no idea why I pointed at you that. I will not do it again. It will not happen. I'm so sorry. But your penis will shrink. When you're done shitting blood, well, you'll need a stiff straight. Jesus Christ, like a match, hit the fan, clean the sink. It'll cripple your guts with intestinal flu. It'll ripple your twat like a fleshy kazoo. Throw your hands to the sky and ask God what to do. Make the sign of the cross, even though you're a Jew. Are we all right? Are we having a good time? You folks, look at that squatting job you do. That's how they shit in the Philippines. One thing you may have noticed about the show is that I'm not a purveyor of limericks. I know some limericks, and I've only written one, but I didn't want to do a show that was exclusively collected limericks. I wanted to go beyond that. But I will say this about limericks, and that is that they often present us with these recognizable poetic structures. When we encounter poems like limericks that have a set structure, you start to realize that poetry is in fact a very natural means of expression. It's a fact that every culture that we are aware of has produced some form of poetry. And I think that's why we sometimes write rhymes to help us remember things. Some rhymes like I before E except after C, or beer before liquor, never sicker, or double-jointed cabin boy with buttery lips and big brown bedroom eyes at night, sailor's delight. Not only that, but the human ear has a very natural affinity for poetry. As soon as children begin learning how to speak, they cobble together these very basic rhymes. And I think that's why sometimes we just laugh at something because it happens to rhyme. For example, what if I said to you, I know of a woman who expectorates vaginally during intercourse? And nobody laughed at that. But watch what happens when I say, Gerter the squirter with a giny that sloshes. I think that's the kid from A Christmas Story. Oh God, it's a daycare all of a sudden. Gertrude the squirter with a giny that sloshes. You can lie with her, boys, but be warned, wear galoshes. See, look at that. That's a very good experience. Yes, you like that, don't you? All right, I think the time has come. What's the Renaissance without screaming children in the distance? All right, the time has come for me to put my show in my audience's hands to some small degree. And the way that I would like to do that is with a very simple question that I would like to ask of you, madam, first. And the question is this. I mean you no harm. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most wildly inappropriate of my poems, what would you like to hear? 10. 1 to 10. You don't want to ease your way up the side of Mount Filthy. You want to scramble to the top and plant the flag. Go big or go home. Go home. Sir, you want to 10. Slut. Yeah, that's why your mouth is often taped shut, sir. The poem that I wrote is I've written all my poems as I am a poet. It is called A Heartside Conversation. Now I only ask you to give this poem a few verses to warm up, but I really do mean this. If at any point during the recital of this poem, if you find it's too much or I've gone too far, please try to keep in mind that that fucker asked me. Where go ye, my father? Good father, where now? You pace by the door and you furrow son, I go nowhere. I stay here with thee. I thought I heard voices and got up to see. But father, sweet father, you smell of cologne. Your bodkin is washed and your mustache is combed. You glance at your watch and you pull at your beard. Where go you, my father? Why stay you not here? We, daughter of mine, why speak you this way? I'll soon go to sleep. I've had a long day. I'm not going out. I stay here instead. Now, please, my good children, repair you to bed. Oh, husband of mine, where go you, my love? You've saddled the horse and you put on your gloves. What business should take you away from our home? Do you see him too? I just want to make sure. No, husband of mine, where go you, my love? You saddle the horse and you put on your gloves. What business should take you away from our home? Tell us, dear husband, what bids thee to roam? God damn it to hell. You must know the truth. I'm off to the whorehouse to pump me a few. I'm hard as a millstone, but what do you care? You've not flashed that yam hole in over a year. You notice the horse and my gloves and my watch, but you don't seem to notice this bulge in my crotch. I suppose it's not worthy of mention from you. Well, screw it, I'm horny, and here's what I'll do. Look, if you did the show in Amish country, you'd look over your shoulder. I'll grab me a whore and I'll lift up her skirt and I'll pound that sweet meat till my testicles hurt. I don't care if she's toothless, obese, or infected. My poor little daddy's been shed. And if you never talk baby talk to your own penis, you gotta try it sometime. Get back here, you bastards. You ask, so you'll hear. I'll slam my good ham in the first derriere. I've got buckets of chowder just waiting to fly. I've never done anal, but I'm willing to try. I just gave the lesbian a monocle for something. I might pleasure a lesbian, or fondle a moose, or fist up a nun till she's sloppy and loose. Well, that's what a 10 fucking looks like. I'll find me a milkmaid a filling her palely, and I'll bibble her lips with my beefy shillelagh. I'll find me a bumpkin who's stupid and dull, and I'll dick knock the very last tooth from his skull. I might ass rape a Quaker. Wow, that really lands in Pennsylvania. I might ass rape a Quaker or cream pie an elf. What a hell of a line to cut it on that. And there's things I might do when I'm all by myself. I might put on a bodice and stroll by the docks and give him a scare when I unleash my cock. Or hell, I'll butter a midget, tickle his wink hole. Watch how he fidgets. And then the little elf boy slid down the hatch. Of course, we had all kinds of enchanting adventures with the Lord Jesus Christ. Is this all right? Do you know what kind of show this is? Well, let's make this a journey of discovery then. Dollar, child. I want you to have this dollar. This is for you. That's what we call hush money. Where was I? I was fidget ass raping a midget. I'm sick of this house. I'm sick of charades. I'm sick of Parcheesi. I want to get laid, so screw you. I'm leaving this mirthless gray hut. I shan't be back soon, so please, don't wait up. the inside of this greeting card, and I'm going to give this to this child. I want you to have this. I want you to take that to school. You look young now, so there's another $1 for you. I want you to take that $1 and go buy some parenting. Hey, you can stay for the show. I rather like the idea that I'm doing for your children what George Carlin did for me without me. Not to compare myself, that's not carried away. Yes, well, is that enough poetry for one show? No! This lady is having a high time next to the tree, isn't she? Drink, chug, vomit, drive.
Can you do I Built My Love a Menstrual Hut?
I built my love a menstrual hut. What do I look like? The Make-A-Wish Foundation?
Please.
I did it last show.
None of us were here then.
I'll do some jumping jacks for you.
Yes, do some jumping jacks. On stage. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever on this stage, a drunk woman doing jumping jacks in a corset. Please enjoy this ambient section of my show. And now it's on to the swimsuit competition. I will do this poem. This is a poem called I Built My Love a Menstrual Hut. Before I do this poem, I want to share something with you. Because sometimes people ask me how I write my poems. And oftentimes I get the ideas from other poets, like many other poets do as well. And one day I was in a pub in Galway, and on the walls of that pub were snippets of great Irish writers, including this poem by William Butler Yeats that I'd like to read to you. It's called The Lake Isle of Innisfree. Very famous poem. Here we go. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean-rows will I have there, a hive for the honey-bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. Their midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core. Now that is a poem about someone's need for some measure of solitude, so he removes himself to a distant place, whether real or imagined. As I sat in that pub, I started to laugh, imagining what might be the flip side to that poem. So this poem is called I Built My Love a Menstrual Hut. It's the last time I will compare myself to William Butler Yeats. I built my love a menstrual hut. I built it out of clay. With earthen halls and wattled walls, I built it far away. That I might have some solitude when twixt her thighs she leaks. Away, my love, get thee to hut, and stay you for a week. And stay a while till calm returns, that I won't have to bear thy grinding voice and hissing tongue that claws my inner ear. For I've got work to do, you know, and I can't keep my head. My love, she bursts in tears, then flings herself upon the bed. And oh, what stench, my bleeding one! 'Tis like a stagnant fen. It smells as if Lake Netherclam hath turned itself again. You know, it's one thing to laugh at that, it's another thing entirely to applaud it. The dogs have gathered at the door. They think I've slain a lamb. The vultures fix their baleful eyes upon that wounded clam. They think I'm making dinner, for the stench hangs thick and strong. And if I had a bouillon cube, they wouldn't be far wrong. So low her lips. He came around the corner like the naughty. So low her lips, they leave a trail as from a pilgrim slug. But must she drag her meat flaps across my oriental rug? I'll be all right. Is that too much? Too much? No, we're good. Excellent. Because some of you are laughing and the others are giving me what I can only describe as the Christian smile. Shall I continue? Where was I? Don't ask her for a beach around. She'll beat you with a rock. I suppose I'm to apologize because I have a cock. With panties at her ankles, my love shuffles across the room. It's boo-hoo-hoo and nag each time she's on her moon. But I need sex, yet so much blood, 'tis more than I can take. If blood was what I wanted, hell, I'd fuck an uncooked steak. Who wrote this? Out to fling thy changing. Well, it's too late for that bullshit. I'm going to give you one of my books of poetry. Is that I'll give you a CD, kid. Greenleaf Holmes starter set. Not very hard.
You did yourself!
So I'll fling thy changing moods and wring thine anxious hands. Go hence to burn thy dinner to, and nag some other man. I hie thee to that sodden hut, to wail without surcease. Sweet menstrual hut, I built thee well. At last I'll have my peace. I'm so sorry. I thought that for as long as I could. But I would like to point out that everything you've heard so far in the show is part of my first volume of complete poetry for sale after the show. This book is called The Gentleman's Treasury of Bedtime Verses to Sodomize By. It is 80 pages of poetry. It is wildly inappropriate. It is deeply offensive. It is biologically invasive. And I think you'd enjoy it very much. God knows the father of the 5-year-old is enjoying it. If you've already got that one, I would like to announce my newly released second volume of poetry called The Vulgaria of Greenleaf Holmes. Again, it is wildly inappropriate, deeply offensive, and it's really nice to masturbate to in a Dairy Queen. As I found out Wednesday in Lancaster. I've got 2 CDs. One is the live CD, which is 53 minutes. But there's another one that I gave that child that sounds like a PBS documentary. And it goes utterly to hell. It is set to chamber music and narration. And on that CD, the poem I built my love a menstrual hut is set to the song Ave Maria. And finally, if you give me $5 at the end of the show, you can come up and take one of these cards with a different one of my poems on the inside. You can send it to someone, as I said, that you hate. Would you like to... Is that enough poetry for one show? No. Would you like to hear something different? A little bit different again. I'm going to take a chance on this one because this also might fail. So I always want to do new material. I thought that maybe I could try out not a poem, but some letters from Arthur to his sister Nora. Would you like to hear something like that? If this doesn't work, give me a chance and I'll make it up to you with a poem at the end. This is Arthur to his sister Nora. My dear brother, I hope this letter finds you well. My convalescence is progressing and I feel ever so much better. I haven't had a fit in several days. And nurse says that if I continue improving, we shall all be able to go to Banbury. As for little Edmund, that's his brother, a great misfortune befell him. While sleeping in a farmer's vegetable cart, a large summer squash was tossed upon him. The shock resulted in the loss of vision in both his eyes, yet he remains cheerful. Yours, Nora. Dear Nora, this is Arthur. Your news gives me great sorrow. Poor Edmund. Henceforth, I shall ever think of summer squash as the cruelest of all squashes. Squash, indeed. Now is the summer of his squashing. I am sending my money. Yours, Arthur. P.S. Who is nurse? Dear Arthur, all is not well here. I've upset nurse terribly. I fear I shall have another fit again and we shan't soon go to Banbury. As for Edmund, dear Dear, sweet, blind little Edmund, he lost both his legs in a fall during an egg and spoon competition. It was dreadful. How he managed to keep the egg and the spoon is still quite the topic here. I'm having a fit again, Nora. Dear sister, what cruel fate. Do take greater care of Edmund. I'm sending a book of nursery rhymes that you may read to him from his rocking chair. Truly, Arthur. Dear Arthur, we shall never go to Banbury. Little Edmund, he suffered a terrible accident. While fingering the book you sent him, he leaned back in his rocking chair too far, resulting in a paper cut that lopped off both of his ears. Poor blind, mute, legless Edmund. Nurse is horribly upset. Nora. Dear Nora, almighty God. Another sadness. I'm sending a sack of potatoes to your cottage as a balm against your miseries. Who is nurse and where is Banbury? Arthur. Dear Arthur. Another misfortune. Last evening, little Edmund, poor, Edmund, while attempting to swallow his potato, fell headlong into the hearth fire. I was having a fit at the time and did not discover him until the fire had burnt away everything but the head. Yet we hope for a swift recovery. Dear Nora, stop writing me. Do you realize that you placed the following sentence, quote, I was having a fit at the time and did not discover him until the fire had burnt away all but his head, in parentheses. How the fuck is that a parenthetical statement? As for your fits, have at it. Your life is a fit. You, Nora, are a fit. You are the fit that is unfit. What am I to do for Edmund? He is a head. What does not recover from being a head? It's not the sort of thing one overcomes. Place him in a bowl and hope Banbury is not hilly. Heads will roll, as they say. Where the fuck is Banbury and who the fuck is nurse? I'm sending flowers. Dear Arthur, such lovely flowers came today. Their beautiful petals perfume the cottage with the most intoxicating scent. Unfortunately, thank you. All right, is that enough? Is that enough? I have to say, thank you very much for coming to this show. I can do one more poem, but really, I always looked at this show as a great improbability. That, look around you. If you were to tell your friends that you wanted to do a show about poetry, would you ever expect that this many people would come out? Go out to the middle of nowhere to sit on these ill-constructed benches with the nailheads digging deep into your rectums, as they have done into so many other rectums just to listen to a man reciting poetry. A few years ago, I didn't have a stage show, so I had to stand out in these meadows asking the passers-by if they wanted to hear a poem. They didn't. It wasn't until I started to ask, would you like to hear something wildly inappropriate, that you bastards started to give me the time of day. What I learned about this place is that if you go a little bit wrong, they ask you to leave. If you go terribly wrong, you get your own time slot. Thank you for coming to this show. To be very honest with you, the point of the show is not to offend anyone, because I think that'd be a very poor goal and a very easily attainable one. The point of the show is to do something different with language where it regards comedy. I wanted not only a poetry show that was comedic, I really wanted a comedy show that was poetic, something that might challenge what I perceive as the increasingly dehydrated language of comedy. And poetry is a way of saying something. If you're paying attention these days, you'll see that the things that we say, and the way that we say them, really do matter. So thank you for coming. It's time for one more poem, and I would like to ask you, sir, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most wildly inappropriate of my poems, the poem that was sent us out here, what would you like to hear? 10. Does anyone not want to hear a 10?
11.
Well, look at this, an auction is broken out in my life. You said 11. You said 11. You want 11?
Yes, sir. Yes, my lord.
I want an end world hunger and a double-jointed Asian with circular breathing. You want 11. Let's try another poem that I don't do very often. Because one of the things that poetry can do is it can transport us. It can take us to another culture. We can sympathize with people that we are not familiar with. We can see another person's point of view. We can also be whisked away to another time of year. Another more festive time of year. And because it's so hot and humid out today, maybe I'll try to comfort you with a poem from a Yuletide time of year. My first Yuletide poem. This poem is called I'm Going to Rub One Off for Christmas. And thank you very much for coming to this show. Is it not in here? I don't care, I can find it. I'll rub one off for Christmas. For Christmas makes me blue. I'll rub one off for Christmas. What else is there to do? The brothels close their shutters. They've gone on holiday. The whores have popped their teeth back in and stuffed their muffs with clay. The goose that mother boiled looks sexually harassed. There's track marks on the drumsticks and a tramp stamp on its ass. You'd best avoid the eggnog. There's a floater in the moat. The dog expressed its anal glands and sank the gravy boat. Outside the streets are quiet, but for the living manger, they put it by the shipyard and didn't foresee the danger. Joseph has a peg leg and Mary has a patch eye. The drunks are getting hook jobs from the second magi. I'm in no mood to carol. They strike a weary note. And if you try to flash mob me, I'll punch your fucking throat. My Christmas tree looks droopy, and I have no real plans, so I'll slip myself a roofie and be putty in my hands. Yes, I'll rub one off this Christmas, just me and old Magoo. Go stick it up your stocking and figgy pudding you. My friends, I was raised by the nuns of St. Fulvus. If I only had a shilling for every time one of them said, Mr. Holmes, is something amusing? But I could never answer that question truthfully because I knew that they would exact their vengeance upon me. This show has been my truthful answer to that question today. As Emily Dickinson once wrote, this is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. And yes, Sister Penetratious, something's amusing. My name is Arthur Greenleaf Holmes. Thank you very much.